The trade period is where clubs can make their big moves and catapult up the ladder. Look at the back-to-back premiers. Lachie Neale, Joe Danaher, Charlie Cameron, Josh Dunkley and even Darcy Fort were all key premiership players that were picked up from other clubs in this period. But it doesn't always work out so smoothly, and there is a balancing act. In the 2025 trade and free agency period, this balance will never be put under the microscope more. There is plenty of talent out there, but most clubs will be asking if players are worth the risk. The question can stem from off-field issues, overall health and potential performance. Get it right and there might be some huge bargains, but get it wrong and it could turn into a costly mistake. Let's look at the most intriguing of these options in the 2025 trade period and analyse if they are really worth the risk. The big one is Melbourne's Clayton Oliver. The initial news out of Melbourne when Stephen King was hired was that those 2021 Premiership heroes were all going to be a part of this new era. Obviously, that is not true. Early in October, Oliver was told his role would be changing and that he was not guaranteed that inside midfield time. Demons list manager Tim Lamb said, "We were upfront with Clayton around the role he is likely to play next season and the need for him to develop his craft beyond the midfield to have his biggest impact within the team. It was honest and respectful, and Clayton is now clear on what we see his role being next year and how we think he can best contribute." Now watching Oliver, it's hard to see him playing any other role on field, so VFL football is probably on the cards as well. Clearly Oliver was frustrated and even let that out at Channel 7 reporter Mitch Cleary, and probably fair enough, as Oliver simply wanted to travel to Sydney on holiday in peace. Now Oliver still has a massive 5 years left on his contract, worth a lot more than $1 million a year, and was a reason clubs were put off from trading for him last year, with Geelong the only team that had interest in the end. The big caveat this season is Melbourne are willing to pay for Oliver to leave. Sam Edmund reported the club will pay roughly $700,000 per year of his contract to move him on. That is a big deal in a couple ways. First of all, it instantly makes Oliver far more attractive to trade for, and will also help Melbourne secure a better pick because they are taking up such a big part of his salary. Now sure, Melbourne have mucked up in the grand scheme of things, but let's stick to what Oliver could provide at his new home. He will still be a valuable inside mid. Will the 28-year-old ever return to his best, where he was bursting out of stoppage and getting 35 touches a game? Probably no, but to a premiership level team, he could be a nice piece. A good comparison is Tom Mitchell at Collingwood, where he came in with a specific inside mid role and helped the club win the 2023 Premiership. Oliver still averaged 25 disposals and 5.5 clearances per game in 2025, and for $700,000 a year, that is good value for any club. His options seem to be open. GWS makes sense to give them midfield support. Nick Dacos no doubt needs an inside ball beside him to ease the load. Geelong have looked at him in the past. And why not West Coast, who desperately need a veteran midfielder to help out Harley Reid? I guess the point is, Oliver fits in a lot of spots and will get a new home if he wishes to leave. Is he worth the risk? It seems clubs think so, and the past 2 years have also proven Oliver has not had any more off-field concerns. The same can't be said for Jamarra Ugle-Hagan. Out of nowhere, the Gold Coast Suns came calling, mainly through their coach in Damien Hardwick. As of recording this, he's met with the club and the signs are positive. But it's interesting. Ben King, Jed Walter and Ethan Reid are all at the club, so do they really need Ugle-Hagan anyway? 2025 was a complete write-off for him, despite being allowed back at Whitten Oval roughly midway through the year, and now clearly the Dogs don't want him. He hasn't shown up for work at all, keeps saying he wants to play football, is out late at nightclubs around gunshots, and even recently got kicked out of a Warrnambool Grand Final because of his disruptive behaviour. But because he is talented, he will always get a chance. Right now this seems like a very risky move by Gold Coast if it eventuates. Clearly Ugle-Hagan has been saying one thing, but doing another, and does the club really need him when they already have a marquee key forward in Ben King and two tools beside him? No other AFL clubs have shown interest, and there is a reason for that. Worth the risk? Not sure. There isn't a clear fit for him in the Suns team, and how can you trust a player who hasn't trained for football in a year and is on a hefty contract for 2026? Sticking with the Suns, Christian Petrarca seems like the much safer option. He, unlike Oliver and Stephen May, wasn't quite shown the doors, but clearly was free to explore his options. In the end, the Suns have won out over the Crows in his decision. He's a star of the competition and has been a bit undervalued for his 2025 season. He still averaged 25 touches a game and kicked 18 goals, finishing second in Melbourne's best and fairest. But there is a catch. His contract is big like Oliver's, and the D's don't look like they will be paying a cent of it, meaning it will cost the Suns well over $1 million per season until the end of 2029. He will also be traded for at least one top 10 pick, and probably another first rounder on top of that. They might even lose young gun Bailey Humphrey, who was spotted with Demons officials recently. Who knows? Like Oliver, it's unclear if Petrarca will absolutely get back to his blistering best as he turns 30, and like a guy like Zach Merritt, Petrarca relies on that power and force in his game that, fairly enough, wasn't quite the same last season because of that King's birthday incident. His numbers look great on paper, but the impact wasn't quite the same, and his kicking efficiency reached career lows at just 48.7%. But even this version of Petrarca will still be so good for the Suns. They probably lacked one more midfielder in 2025, but Petrarca still gives them flexibility to play forward. You can also argue after another pre-season post-injury, he will recover even more and potentially reach 90% of his best, which would mean any trade or contract cost would be well worth it. There are still unknowns about Petrarca's potential in the future, but even repeating his 2025 would be a massive improvement for the Suns. He will be expensive, but worth the risk because of the upside in a new environment. And the other major player this season to keep an eye on is Brandon Starcevic. His health is the major focus. Multiple concussions in 2025 alone, but when he plays he is a star defender. He can lock down opposition medium and smalls, but uses the ball in link-up play well. He's one West Coast have to take the chance on. They desperately need talent and he fits in well, as he would in any team. But the chance one more concussion comes is real, and if he has to medically retire, the Eagles will likely need to pay him just like Melbourne are still doing with Angus Brayshaw. The unique situation the Eagles are in means Starcevic is worth the risk, but fans and the club will be holding their breath. The 26-year-old can play in Eagles colours well into his 30s. So these are just some of the marquee names in the trade space that have that element of risk attached. In 2026 and beyond, they will define the trade period itself. I think most of us see the potential upside in these players, but no doubt risk in different ways is attached. Worth the risk? Well, clubs think so, and time will tell how the results pan out for these players and their clubs.